all the common people were taken out in one fell swoop of a fire. That I have right now in my hand is this court document. In fact, they blocked roads, and I can say that with a fact.
So they were a big revolt that night, and it was really difficult to watch because the police unit came with helicopter and full armament and big trucks, and obviously the farmers were blocking access, and they were protesting the mass call. And what they did, they actually gassed the farmers and the cow who were suffocating just before being killed. So that is animal cruelty.
Confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering whether the bank accounts will be targeted of individuals who donated to the Give, Send, Go and the GoFundMe campaigns. Are they considered designated people under the Emergencies Act, meaning that their credit cards could be cut and financial services are targeting them as well?
Okay, so the names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions, and accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen. Crowdfunding platforms and payment service providers have started the registration process with FinTrack. In terms of the specifics on whose accounts are being frozen, you now have the regulations. The financial service providers have those regulations as well, and they, working with law enforcement, will be making the operational decisions.
1,000 parts per million aluminum, barium at 3,090, and strontium at 345.
Yeah, that's from a lined pond.
With EPDM fish safe pond liner. There is no chemicals, manufacturing materials at all in that pond liner that's available to the aquatic life. It's designed for that purpose. The well that feeds this pond has been tested and retested. ND, no detectable aluminum, 0. The only other place this pond can receive water is rainfall. We are located on a filtered, forested hilltop, miles and miles and miles away from any industry, highway, and so forth. After several heavy spray days, there was a film that we received formed on the surface of the water, and we tested that crust, and it was aluminum and barium, that after a year and a half's accumulation had 375,000 parts per billion of aluminum in it. It's literally toxic. We can say conclusively that what we see in the sky matches expressly what's outlined in numerous patents, and the materials on the ground match those patents. This material was not there 5 years ago. It is a recent phenomena in the quantities it's in. It has escalated in some cases 50,000% in 5 years in the case of aluminum. From our original baseline reading of 7 parts per billion, which was already high, it has escalated up to 50,000% in 5 years. And we've seen profound changes in that time.
Dr. Leonard Time, PhD in chemistry, I cross-checked with him, and he says the oxides of aluminum, barium, and strontium will drive your pH into the coastal, from an acid soil like this up into the neutral. There's no question about it.
And that's exactly
what you see happening.
Wow.
I have a doctorate in inorganic chemistry from Oregon State University, in which I was working with different metals and oxidation states, and then did a postdoctorate work at Brandeis, where I was working stabilizing off oxidation states of different metals. The goal is to sort of figure out how everything fits in the dynamic equilibrium of life. I was working with Francis up in Mount Shasta, and he showed me some rainwater analyses that had to do with levels of aluminum, strontium, and barium in the atmosphere. So I feel the major toxin in these chemtrails is the aluminum. And from the levels we were looking in at Mount Shasta, this is totally, totally unacceptable. When you get to metals and biological systems, you're no longer talking about the bulk aluminum that people think about when they're drinking from soda pop cans and that. So once it gets to the aluminum oxide stage, it just forms a plaque within your arteries and shuts down life. When you take elements that normally aren't out in the environment and you start putting them in the environment, it raises some serious red flags. Aluminum is a very specific nasty in biological systems. It takes that site and it never lets go, and it shuts down the site, and that's it. And so as you accumulate aluminum over time, it causes major neurological damage because it ends up as aluminum oxide that's essentially stuck in place and can't be flushed out by normal systems.
Taken off, I think the people are ready for the truth, and it's just amazing to watch just the feedback that even I've had. This is not my first pilot confrontation, but this is the first time any of my work, I've been trying to bring things to light for the last 5 years. And I've been beating my head against a wall sometimes. And for the first time, this interaction just blew up. And I've spent this last week glued to my phone. My friends are notifying me that you're on X, you're on Instagram, and I'm not on any of those channels. And so it's been just, I feel like the people are ready. There's a real shift happening, and these are exciting times.
Well, I'm so proud of you. I got to tell you, it takes one person to make a change that affects all of us. And we saw it in the Revolutionary War. It took, 3% of the people stood up against the British to form our nation, to give us our freedoms. Ladies and gentlemen, Kat is one of the 3%. And let's get back to this news about USAID. No wonder the demon rats are screeching in the corner. They don't want their CIA slush fund shut down. USAID spent millions of dollars on cloud seeding. Thought that was a conspiracy theory, didn't you? No, it's fact. And we're getting to the roots of it. We're sussing it out, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here's the backstory. Before we show the clips featuring Kat confronting the pilot, I just want to ask you, Kat, how long have you been at this? How long have you been fed up? What woke you up to geoengineering, cloud seeding? You told me in the pre-call your husband didn't believe you that cloud seeding was real, and yet you persevered. And here you are now going absolutely viral. You've got the goods. You've got the receipts. You're one of the heroes helping to make a big change here. How'd you get started?
A compliment coming from you. A little backstory. I was oblivious most of my life to this construct that we live in. And I slowly started waking up to the pharmaceutical schedule that is forced on our children after many, many years of causing harm to my own child unknowingly by going to all the scheduled well visits. So that was sort of my initial awakening that there are revolving doors between regulatory agencies and the industry they're supposed to be regulating, right? There's a lot of backdoor deals happening and decisions that are being made under the guise of health and safety that are actually quite harmful. So when in 2020 is really when I took off 1,000 miles a minute. I knew something was wrong. I very early on, around June of 2020, I decided I was done wearing the muzzle of shame. I was done performing the muzzle rituals and following the arrows and standing on the dots. That led to it was a lot of heartache living in a very I hate to say liberal, but it was a very liberal county. You know that this was all politicized. Nobody was thinking clearly. They were living in fear. And so that was the first time I had to just go up against a crowd of people. I was ostracized, and I had the police called multiple times when I tried to go grocery shopping. It caused a lot of strife and strain for my family, but it was really great training for what was coming because I'm no longer afraid. I had to go through so much, so many altercations and conflict, and I survived it. And once you realize just how much the government, the public-private partnerships on a global scale are working to keep you afraid, keep you in line, to surveil you, to track you, to trace you, to get you to willingly adopt whatever procedures and protocol they want you to adopt. then you start to look at everything else in history with a fresh lens. And in 2020, I woke up to 9/11. I woke up to
Latest water test tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0. So 13,100 is pretty damn much, folks. It used to be 0, then it was 100s in the 2000s, and then since 2010, it's into the 1000s and the latest 13,100. In the snow on Mount Shasta, pristine Mount Shasta, 61,000 feet, no, excuse me, 8,000 foot level, 61,000 micrograms per liter, 4 times the amount that is found in the soil up there. Where in the hell is this stuff coming from if it's not coming from the soil? You know, these tests are international in scope. We're seeing this all over the world, guys. Okay, pH of acid soils is 20 times more alkaline. The aluminum in the soil has doubled in the last 10 years. Aluminum blocks essential nutrients. I am unable in my garden to restore normal pH, and that's because nanoparticles are now in the circulatory systems of both plants and humans. So welcome, fellow guinea pigs.
This emergency proclamation is a fall. Funny how all the common people were taken out in one fell swoop of a fire. Fire department, police department on Maui did nothing to get those people out.
Why do you think they didn't turn the sirens on?
I don't know.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. And the reason why, and
so many people said they could have been saved if they had time to escape. Had a siren gone off, they would have known that there was a crisis emerging. And as we know, so many bodies were found in the ground.
Do you want him to give you the answer, or do you want to give? Well, then let him finish his answer.
Sorry, there's a lot of people.
Well, you're talking and you're not letting him talk. If you want to talk, come up here.
I'm ready for the answer.
Then wait.
There's a lot going on here that is way beyond anything that anybody wants to believe. That there was no warning. Fires went from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night going. No military came. The whole community is mourning the deaths of over 1,500 people. They killed innocent men, women, and children.
The sad thing that I have right now in my hand is this court document. In fact, they blocked roads. And I can say that with a fact because the people in Lahaina testified to that.
And I walked all the way from Safeway to the chart house. Not one car had moved. And I was wondering what was stopping the traffic. Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end and I looked up north. There were no obstructions. There was no reason to keep those cars there.
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm under orders to keep them here. And I said, the fire is right around Safeway. It's going to hit Front Street. You know, these people got to get out of here. And he said, I'm following orders.
No way.
And I keep walking down the highway, and I look behind, no cars are coming out. I walked all the way to Waikuli Beach, still no cars coming out. And I started hearing boom, boom, boom. And then I heard people screaming and stuff.
You're saying they were blockaded in by the police? At the end of Front Street?
Yeah.
Northbound lanes then shut down. This video shows no cars on the blocked off highway still 5:24 p.m. 2.5 hours later when Debbie Schultz-Peterson shot this video. Miller's video documented the lane closure during that time. He says police directed traffic down Keave Street into the cannery.
And either went out the backside on the front street. I could see that everyone was blocked, so I went out and I came this way and I got under the power line.
But there's more. Those trying to exit the middle of town from Lahaina Luna are also obstructed heading southbound. Before 3:30 p.m., Amanda Cassidy is among the early evacuees.
Anything could happen at any second, and I know that every second counts in those moments.
She leaves Lahaina Luna Makai of the bypass, but in this photo she says when she reaches Lahaina Luna Road and the highway, it's blocked off by an officer not just to the north, but south as well.
It's very complex, but I gotta tell you, I met with them. I'm also the coroner for those that don't know that.
You have the bodies. You know how many of them are children. How many children are dead? Step back, please. How many children are dead, Mayor?
When you have them unleashing actual lasers on Americans and destroying their homes and murdering children, I mean, that's what happened here. They murdered children stuck in their homes.
Is there talk among the locals of what could have been done to prevent this tragedy?
Yeah, a lot of talk. They could have given us warning. They sent all the kids home from school because of the wind advisory. And we found out yesterday that we lost a whole neighborhood of children.
Yes, horrific. The Lahaina Luna housing area, all the kids were home. One of our co-workers messaged us yesterday saying every one of his friends in the neighborhood is dead.
When they're willing to do that, and all of the other aforementioned, the things that you were talking about that they can unleash, but they also cater to those that are waking up by giving them some sort of a reprieve, that they are willing to murder innocent children who are trapped inside of their homes with no schools open, with no alarms or signals sounding at all. Keep in mind, ironically, this is the most advanced signal alarm system that we have in the entire country. This is a freaking island state. They have now shown you that they will physically go to war with you and kill you for your property and to destroy the nuclear family and to destroy freedom in this country and to overtake this country to usher in a one world governance so that you are 100% dependent on the agenda of those at BlackRock and Klaus Schwab. This was a military style attack. Our government,
Australia, and now Hawaii are unlike anything we've ever seen before. They are being called forest fires and wildfires, but they are clearly something very different. These fires are burning homes into a white powdery ash footprint, while often leaving the surrounding green trees and shrubs practically untouched. In extreme cases, forest fires can reach temperatures up to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and the melting point of aluminum is 1,220 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is possible for an extreme forest fire to melt aluminum. But there are cars with puddles of melted aluminum that were clearly not in the wildfire area. And melted glass, which has a melting point around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. These are unexplained anomalies. In the California fires of 2018, cars were randomly bursting into flames on the freeway with no surrounding fires. We've seen these same anomalies in New York City on September 11th, 2001. Cars completely burned out with no explanation. In Maui, these unnatural fires spared the homes of the rich while burning the native homes of the working class. With precision, these fires destroyed the most envied, high-valued areas of Maui. For decades, directed energy weapons have been classified, but they have been on the public record for several years now. Directed energy weapons, known as DEWs, have the ability to burn homes with this sort of precision. But in order to be this precise, the area would have to be mapped out. In January of this year, green lasers were seen over Hawaii, which could best be described as a geospatial array for mapping terrain. We have seen that among the ashy ruins, there are blue-colored objects that have somehow survived the devastation. Blue cars, blue umbrellas, a blue boat, blue planters.
Investigating into anything. At 10:12 and 8 seconds, the 8th volley of automatic gunfire begins.
Go! Run that way! Go! 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 Stay down! Go! Go! First stop! No. I don't know.
At 10:12 and 35 seconds, the 9th volley of automatic gunfire begins.
Stay down! Run that way against the wall. Stay down! Keep your head down!
At 10:13 and 30 seconds, the 10th volley of automatic gunfire begins.
Run that way!
After the 10th volley, you'll notice one of the helicopters that's not supposed to be there heading east over the venue.
Keep your head down, run that way.
It's also at this time that a south-facing security camera in a parking lot 780 feet east of the venue picks up people running and trying to help, but ultimately leaving a deceased victim on the ground. For reference, this is its view. The only reason this video is known about is because it was sent to a Route 91 victims lawyer who then took it to Tucker Carlson. Being so close to the venue, the man didn't understand why the FBI and LVPD hadn't reached out to him or even asked if he had any security cam footage from that night. While Tucker is focused on why cops left a body there, what I found interesting is that you can clearly tell a helicopter was either hovering extremely close or landing nearby between 10:14 and 10:16, and 10:16 is when the shooting ends.
You can see a large amount of wind and debris. Apparently that's due to a helicopter hovering overhead.
This matches the footage I just showed you of a helicopter leaving Mandalay Bay and flying east. Remember, the east side is where people reported hearing shots, seeing gunmen, and where bullets, casings, and a magazine were also found. At 10:14 and 49 seconds, the 11th volley begins.
Keep your head down, run that way. Keep your head down, run that way.
15 seconds, the 12th and final volley of automatic gunfire from Mandalay Bay begins. Between 10:16 and 10:18 is the 2-minute window, according to Lombardo, where he magically claims to know Paddock killed himself. Okay, whatever. And at 10:16, the same 3 helicopters that had disappeared earlier when they turned their transponders off above Mandalay Bay suddenly blip back up on the screen as part of that group of 8 that takes off up north. 2 of them pop up closer to the vicinity of Mavericks, while a third one blips up on screen between them in the air as they pass by the strip.
Is all 3 call signs from the original 3 helicopters that were behind Mandalay Bay that never returned show up there. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking about the helicopters that landed near Maverick helicopters, but they did not actually land at the Maverick helicopters location where these aircraft took off. They landed over here. So how did they get back over there? And they magically appear back on radar just after the shooting stopped at 10:16. Another interesting thing that I noticed was that the last helicopter in the original group of 3, call sign N848MH, actually turns its transponder on, pops up right there. It just popped up, and I'll show that to you frame by frame here. But it's like it never actually took off from Maverick helicopters, but perhaps left the shooting scene and joined that group formation and turned its transponder on right when it got into that group formation.
It's also at this time that a Southwest comes onto the radar with the call sign SW84119. The problem is it takes a sharp angle turn over the airport impossible for an airplane to do and heads directly over to the Mandalay Bay to hover above the Delano roof. This is only 2 minutes after firing at the festival ceases. I shouldn't have using fake call signs and all the while being able to escape the notice of radar techs and employees at the airport would be our own government. I guess now we know why they keep refusing our FOIA request for the communications with McCarran that night. 21, the group of helicopters that previously took off to the north start to return south, and they all land at Mavericks like nothing ever happened. At 10:22, after hovering above the Delano roof for several minutes, the Southwest planecopter turns off its transponder. If you're wondering that if despite all the distractions going on that night, if anyone happened to catch a helicopter near the roof of the Delano, Las Vegas, according to his own brother-in-law, who he had lived with and confided in about the matter. MGM never explained why Campos was hired as a security guard without being licensed either. Odd, considering they would be sued over their own lack of security. On October 11th, Paddock's home was burglarized, even though it should have been guarded. Reno police would blame an irresponsibly unlocked door and the wind. On October 21st, people started coming forward about how the FBI handed back laptops and cell phones from workers and concertgoers that were taken in as evidence and then given back wiped clean. Fake fact-checker sites like Snopes, who just got busted this year for plagiarism and not actually fact-checking anything, declared it to be unproven, not because of it whatsoever, but because they deemed it unproven because it was based off unsourced Facebook posts, even though the claim itself was made by at least 2 locals from their personal accounts. On October 25th, Lombardo reveals the hard drive from Paddock's laptop went missing from the crime scene. Mainstream media wants you to believe Paddock removed it himself, but doesn't feel the need to explain where it went since he never left the room. On October 28th, Danny Contreras, another survivor of Route 91, was found shot dead in a vacant lot in Las Vegas. He had taken to social media the day after the shooting in a tweet that was reposted hundreds of times about being chased by 2 gunmen at the concert. The censor Nazis at Twitter felt the need to suspend his account for somehow violating terms of service from beyond the grave.
September 2024. Torrential rain hits North Carolina, triggering flash floods that surge down valleys and destroy buildings.
It just ripped it in half.
A floating building hits a telephone pole.
Nobody in this part of the country has ever seen anything like this before. It was devastating.
Lightning flashes.
1 month later, in Spain, a massive flood hits Valencia.
Rescued 4 people on Saturday and spent the night in a nearby pilot's lounge, then decided to fly again Sunday morning.
I spoke with my son, which is my co-pilot. I said, hey, do you want to go back out and try to help today? And his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidham spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we're going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further, and again he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
I'm sure he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologizing and explaining. She was standing there. She heard the whole conversation, and they were both very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain, at that point, separated from his wife, he was upset. I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina.
Was derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. The chemicals, including vinyl chloride, were released and burned during a controlled release which covered the area in clouds of thick black smoke.
Une troisième tour. Le bâtiment 7 s'est écroulé le 11 septembre sans avoir été heurté par un avion. Elle s'est brusquement affaissée en moins